So let's just say we listen to the old saying, offense wins games, defense wins championships. If that were to be true, then Oklahoma would be the favorite to win the national title this year. Another dominant performance defensively from the Sooner Tsunami up front, as Oklahoma is 4 quarters away from punching their ticket to the college football playoff after securing a 17-6 win over Missouri. So let's break it all down. Welcome on into the SEC Unfiltered post-game reaction show. It's called Thompson. Like the video, hit the ring notification, and of course, subscribe to the channel because we talk Sooners football, we talk Tigers football, we talk college football daily. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the social media channels at SEC Unfiltered. Check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. As always, we are proudly brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Sign up today, fanduel.com/SECU. Maybe it is on Oklahoma's chances of winning a college football playoff game. Maybe it's on their chances of going all the way to the national title. Whatever it is, FanDuel.com has got you covered. FanDuel.com/SECU. $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Oklahoma defensively is the one team in college football that I will tell you right now, nobody wants to go toe-to-toe with. Nobody. I would say Ohio State probably doesn't want to do it. I would say that probably you could look at a team like Alabama, Georgia. Nobody wants to be able to have this be a down-to-the-wire finish against the Sooner front seven because they're going to get after you. They're going to put you in a blunder of concern. They are going to play their brand of football. And credit where credit's due to Brent Venables. Once again, talking about having a gritty win, having to tough it on out in the postgame show. This is what Oklahoma football has been all about this year. We know that we are limited at certain things offensively, but if you just let us play our brand, you let us do what we do best, which is fly to the football, get pressure on quarterbacks, take away a team's X factor, and make them kind of mess it up for themselves, we are going to be in a great spot. Once again, that's exactly what we saw. Now, most of you guys know that I live in Houston, Texas. Most of you know that I also cover the NFL as a side hustle. So I'm looking at Oklahoma right now, and I'm seeing the Houston Texans. And I know that sounds like an insult. It's really not. I get it. Texas, Oklahoma. Who wants to hear that comparison? The Texans have the best defense in the NFL, far and away. Whether that be in press man coverage downfield, whether that be at the linebacker position, whether that be in the front seven, Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter getting on after quarterbacks, quite literally destroying them. They beat the crap out of Josh Allen on Thursday Night Football. And that's a reason why many people believe, hey, Houston gets in the playoff. All bets are off that offense can kind of take that next jump forward. That was what we saw today out in the Palace on the Prairie. Once again, defense delivering a performance to remember without their best defensive player in Mason Thomas and with Robert Spears-Jennings leaving today because of an injury that they suffered early on in the game. A lot of things that you thought, okay, well, that's not going to go our way. It did. Forcing less than 350 total yards of offense, you'll check that box. Basically saying, Ahmad Hardy, you are not going to beat us on the ground. 57 yards off 17 carries. Fine. We give up a few explosive plays through the year. We will live because we know that you can't do anything with your kicking game. Limiting the rushing attack to 2.0 yards a play, making them have more penalties than you, making them be worse on third down. You took away their fastball and said, here, go ahead and beat us with all of your other little tricks, all of your other little tomfooleries that you think are going to be good enough to show on up. Oh, by the way, it's not. We're going to go ahead and pick you off, Bro Babula, in the third quarter. And then just for good measure, we're going to have Peyton Bowen showing up at the right place at the right time on the final drive and end this to get us one step closer to going to the college football playoff. This is an elite defense. This is a defense that I can trust that when it gets to the college football playoff, best of luck to whoever's lining up against them. Offensive lines are shivering in their cleats, having to go up against once this front seven is, whether it be with David Stone, whether it be with Taylor Wine, knowing that you're going to get back a fully healthy version of Mason Thomas at some point this season. Kip Lewis coming off of the edge. Owen Henneke making plays left and right. Led the team with 10 tackles. You had 9 tackles for losses in this game. You had 4 sacks. You had pressure on Pabula nearly every single snap. This is the type of performance that when you look on paper, plus you throw in the wins that you already have over Michigan and over Tennessee and over Alabama, the committee's going to look at this program and say, they got something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what to entirely make of them, but there's something there that we can believe is going to deliver when we get to the college football playoff. And as long as the offense is able to find a little bit of a juice, well, maybe they may win a game or 2 or 3 or 4 and win the national title altogether. Now, I'm going to pause on Oklahoma because usually we talk about winners and then we move over to losers. We're going to put a break when it comes to Oklahoma right now to talk about Missouri and then go back to Oklahoma for a second. I fully believe that at this point, it was the right call to play Bo Pribula. This was a basically opportunity for you to end the narrative of Mizzou football kind of being an underwhelming team that hasn't gotten a signature win this season. And you figured get your quarterback, if he's fully healthy or at least healthy enough to play, back out on the field to deliver. And 2 bad interceptions is what we're going to remember. But for the most part, knowing that he was limited as a runner, knowing that you were probably going to have to stay in the pocket and deliver strikes downfield, I thought there were some good things from Bo Pribula today. There were a lot of bad. There were some very easy missed throws. He had the bad interception in the third quarter, easily kind of forcing things downfield. But for the most part, you had that connection with Kevin Coleman, and you said, you know what, screw it. If we're going to win this way, we're going to win this way. 7 catches, 115 yards, 5 catches over 20 yards downfield. You really made sure that number 3 was going to be the element of surprise. And if we're going to play to our strengths, we got to force feed Kevin Coleman as much as possible. And they did. And ultimately, this really came down to the offense not being able to finish. Like, you look at some drives and you're saying to yourself, okay, as long as we can capitalize and get 3, as long as we can get, a field goal out of this, or better yet, we can live in a situation where we can trust our kicking game. Kicking had been a problem all year for Missouri going into this matchup. They had a 75% success rate in field goal percentages. So it's not like you could say, well, we're just going to trot out Mayer and he's going to make every single kick 50 yards down the field, 25 yards down the field. Doesn't really matter. No, you missed. And ultimately, that's where you were for most of the afternoon, is that you knew that you were limited when it came to your overall special teams. So you had to go for it on 4th down. And ultimately, you're going up against one of the best defensive lines in college football. They were able to force some turnovers. The throw to Kevin Coleman. I know a lot of people are going to say Bo Pribula probably could have surveyed the field, not gone for the home run swing. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When you have a wide receiver that is hot in that entire drive, catching a 35-yard blast and staying in bounds, moving the chains with another first down conversion, you go to the hot hand. And it was the right read and it was the right throw. It just was a little bit off balance. And ultimately, Kevin Coleman wasn't able to turn around at the right spot to be able to bring it on in. You bring in that catch. Well, now we're talking about this being a 1-possession game. You get an onside kick. Your offense is able to move down the field. You score a touchdown. Now your defense that was playing lights out for most of the day just needs to slow down John Mateer and company enough to believe that that's where you can easily walk away with the dub. Like, there wasn't a lot of big explosive plays from Oklahoma or from Alabama, or from Missouri, to where whoever had the ball last, if you made the mental mistake, you probably were going to cost your team a win. And that's what happened. Mizzou had the ball last, tried to throw it into double coverage. Ultimately, guess what? Get a pick by Peyton Bowen. Game's on over. So that's kind of where we are when it comes to this matchup. I don't think that you can regret what happened for a team like Oklahoma. I think they made enough plays as much as possible. But ultimately, for Missouri, this is there right now. And they took away your fastball and they said, okay, you're going to have to beat us with everything else. They couldn't beat you with anything else. That's just kind of the case when it comes to Mizzou. Now the question turns to, what's the long-term status look like for a guy in Eli Drinkwitz? Drake is going to get rumored to go to Florida. He's going to get rumored to go to Missouri. He's going to get rumored to go to multiple other schools. So that's kind of where we are, is that there are programs out there that are looking at what he's been able to accomplish. And now you have a 4-loss season on your hands. Now, you're going to win next week if all things go according to plan against Arkansas. And so if you win that in the bowl game, you get 9 wins. And trust me, to say that you've won 39 games in 4 years is a pretty big accomplishment. And Mizzou can say that. But the problem is that eventually you kind of just lose your luster and you think that this is the best it's going to get. So it'll be interesting to see, hey, is Missouri going to still be viewed as a premier destination for drink, or another opportunity opens? You start looking around, surveying your options, and you say to yourself, okay, what's best for me is to probably hit reset on my career, go to a place that I think has a little bit more upside. And then if you're Missouri, you got to ask yourself, what direction do you go when it comes to the next coaching staff? Is it as simple as, hey, Kirby Moore, don't leave us. We're going to promote you as our offense coordinator, head coach. Corey Batoon, we love you so much for what you've been able to accomplish defensively. Once again, we have fearlessly, confidently, year in and year out, forgotten to mention how good this defense is for a team that has literally relied so heavily on it to be able to out of trouble. But I will tell you that if that's what it takes to maintain all of this talent, by all means, you got to go ahead and look at it. I think that Will Stein from Oregon, if he does become available in terms of looking at a place like in the SEC to go coach, that may be my first phone call. In fact, I would say it probably is my first phone call. Very few phone calls I'd make afterwards. But right now, for Drink, the big question is, what's going on in his mind at this point? Bo Pabula nearly had an opportunity to strike. Your offense was just a little bit desolate at times. And now you're going to be sitting with an 8-4 season instead of going to potentially 10-3. That may change a couple of things, and that may change your opinion on what you think a program like Missouri is. Now, you know me. You see the helmet right behind me. I think Missouri is a prime destination that you can win at and win at the highest level. Where competing for college football playoff berths every single year is a little bit facetious. Definitely on the horizon. But you also got to make sure that you get the right coach and the right person in charge who's going to constantly be able to build this program into a position that he believes Missouri should be having a higher standard. What we did last season was not our best. We're not 11-0. We're not competing for the college football playoff. We're not competing for the SEC title. We're doing things wrong. Okay, now back to Oklahoma. Oklahoma defensively is elite. I just compared them to the Houston Texans. I'm going to do it again. Oklahoma is the Houston Texans, including its offense. Its defense is good enough to win a national title. Its offense can keep them out of the college football playoff. You got to fix some things. I have been very pro John Mateer for most of the time of this season, talking about him in a prominent light. I think that he is a solid player. I think there are certainly some things that he's not able to do because of the hand surgery. But I also know that he's been back for over a month. And we still are seeing mental mistakes. It was not a good game from John Mateer in the passing attack. Yeah, he led the team in rushing yards. He averaged, I think he had 60 total yards in the game. 11 carries, if I'm not mistaken. 18 carries, my apologies. 3.3 yards, had that big 15-yard gain on first down. A lot of things to like about John Mateer as a runner. But in the passing game, you take away the 87-yard touchdown, you have 86 yards. So over half of your yards came on one big-time play to Isaiah Satenga. And no other receiver had a play of over 15 yards downfield. Your defense can only do so much. Like, I look at the Texans week in and week out. They played the Denver Broncos a few weeks ago. And in that game, Houston forced 3 and out and 3 and out and 3 and out. And they forced a turnover by Bo Nix. And you get to the fourth quarter and you're saying, listen, if we can just get into field goal range, we're going to win the football game. But they gave up a big-time play. They got into field goal range. Will Lutz makes the game winner. And lo and behold, that's all she wrote. Denver wins, Houston loses. And if that was a playoff game, that'd be the end of Houston's season. That's kind of where I'm at right now when it comes to Oklahoma's offense. It's been a good drive for the last few weeks. You look at what they did against South Carolina, rushing for 100 yards. You look at what you did against a team like Tennessee, being able to be outgained and still figuring out a way to be able to capitalize with your defense. You look at what you did a couple weeks ago when it came to the success rate of the matchup. Who am I blanking on? Not Arkansas. My apologies. I'm not trying to stall here. I'm actually just kind of blanking on who it was against. Ole Miss, you had a lot of high-scoring games. You had 5 straight games of 100-yard rushers. Like, you played well. Your passing attack finally started to figure out identity with the guy in Isaiah Satenga as your legit number one. You were able to get the ball into Jaren Kanic's hands, and there were some things that you liked about John Mateer, but everything at this point has kind of gone south. Like, credit where credit's due. Javonte Gibson catching that big 8-yard touchdown is massive for John Mateer inside the red zone. The ability to trust that you got Isaiah Satenga and Deion Burks who are moving the chains is a prominent thing. The fact that you have a tight end and Jaren Kanik that can make plays in the open field and pile drive forward with physicality for the first down, it's things that you like. But every once in a while, you hit a ceiling. And it feels like right now we're missing that spark for Oklahoma's offense. And I don't know if you're going to find it in the next 4 quarters before you go to the playoff. Because all you have to do is win the next game against an LSU team that's still on paper from the composite standpoint is a top 15 roster in college football. You would have 5 ranked wins on the year, 2 impressive road wins, and potentially a win over a team that very well still is in the hunt for their Big Ten title bid. So you add all that together, there's a lot to like about what you have with Oklahoma, but there's not enough offensively to where you feel confident. And you're at a point of the season where naturally you want to think that Oklahoma can figure things out. They can get the passing attack going. They can run it more efficiently. But this may be what your offense is. And it's kind of a slap in the face to everyone involved because if you were hyped up to be this new dynamic unit. And yes, the explosive plays were very much on display. The explosives that you could connect with when it came to rushing plays or the big touchdown passes to Tanga, you could absolutely say that's a step in the right direction. The problem is that you don't have that at a consistent basis. You had one play of over 20 yards downfield today. The explosives were not there. You had multiple punts that probably should have ended in points. And ultimately, this is where your offense is as a unit. And it's back-to-back week against qualified defenses. Alabama is a good defense. It's not an elite defense, but it's a very good defense. And you know what else is a very good defense? So is Missouri. Mizzou was able to hold you intact for most of the day. You just gave up the explosives and the bad penalties, whether it be a face mask call or a holding call or a pass interference deflection that gave Oklahoma a second chance. And I'm not taking anything away from Oklahoma's defense. They earned that win today, and it's why that they're 4 quarters away from being in the playoff. But I'm looking at this offensive personnel right now, and I'm saying there is a ceiling. And if it's a bad matchup for you in the first round, you will be hosting a playoff game, and you'll be going home in 4 quarters with nothing else to say. There has to be something that comes together. And it just feels like John Mateer, 14 of 30, not being able to build any rapport in the passing attack. And also Ben Arbuckle, quite literally looking in the fourth quarter, realizing our passing game isn't working whatsoever. Why are we still steering into this identity? Why are we not going toward our rushing attack? That started to gain a little bit more momentum in the final 15 minutes. No, instead we're just going to go throw and throw and throw and throw and then punt and then punt. And our defense will be able to have trouble. The dam breaks for everyone at some point. It just does. And that's the harsh reality of college football. That's the harsh reality of football just in general and in life. Everyone has their limit. And you played against an offense that was bringing back a quarterback that had not seen the field in nearly a month, to where it kind of benefited you. You had enough to be able to survive off the skin of your teeth. That might not be the case against LSU. And then you're sitting at 9-3 and this elite defense is being wasted and not going to the playoff. You may be doing this against a team in the ACC or a team in the Big 10 or a team in the Big 12 and saying to yourself, that's kind of where we just are as a program. Like, hey, our great defense is probably not going to be able to get enough stops to get us to the next round. So something has got to change between Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, and the play calling, or something has got to change when it comes to John Mateer and the identity of what you want when it comes to the rushing attack. Because of whatever it is, there's a clear disconnect between the two sides. And luckily, you went up against a team that was able to shut down its best asset. You're not going to do that consistently in the playoff. You're just simply not. Doesn't mean you can't win a playoff game. Doesn't mean that your defense can't bail you out of trouble. But you get tired of saying, hey, can you give us 3 more stops? Hey, can you go back out there and do it one more time? At some point, you got to be able to figure out something when it comes to your offensive identity. And this is where Brent Venables is probably going to step on in and ask Ben Arbuckle what's going on. Because he's delivered on his side of the bargain. I'm calling the defense. I'm going to have an elite play design. And 4 straight weeks, defense has been lights out. Even though what's so funny is for the third straight time, they've been outgained and they've still won the football game. It shows you how elite Oklahoma's defense is. You got to be able to figure out something with your offense. Let's get to your questions, comments before we get on out of here. Mr. 300s only does that against not ranked teams. Dude, you got to learn how to spell. I get what you're saying. I'm out hard. You didn't have a good day. It's an elite defensive line. Guys, if you haven't figured it out at this point, you're watching as Oklahoma's defensive front is one of, if not the best in the country. Like, they are so damn good. They didn't have their star player. R. Mason Thomas was not available, and it didn't matter. Like, they were so great at pressuring Bo Pabula, taking away Jamal Robertson, Ahmad Hardy, and forcing number 9 to win through the air. And he kind of did when it came to number 3. And outside of getting the ball to Kevin Coleman, like, everyone else, I think, finished with under 165 total receiving yards out of 231. Nobody had more than 55 total yards on the day. And I think that there was 11 other passes completed outside of Kevin Coleman. So again, you look at that standpoint, you got to ask yourself what it is. Boomer Sooner, great defensive game plan. Nobody can argue with you with that. Crying emoji, MIZ. I think that you'll be fine next season. Again, you're a great hotbed for the transfer portal. It wasn't your day against an elite defense. Looking forward to offensive line, few QB, special teams, primarily kickers, asking for a friend for MIZ. Bo Pabula, again, he had 2 bad interceptions. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you on that. That was bad. The one on the final play of the game was certainly worse than the one, I think it was to Marquise Johnson downfield. Just a little bit of an underthrown ball in double coverage. Bad decision-making from the get-go on that standpoint. But still, coming back from an injury and not playing for nearly a month, throwing for 253 yards, knowing that you were able to evade some pressure and only be sacked 4 times, I commend him in that standpoint. The problem was they said, hey, we'll give you Kevin Coleman. We're not giving you much anything else. You can't trust your run game. You can't move the football when it comes to third down conversions with your legs. You were going to have to win through the air. And they couldn't do that on a consistent basis. The offensive line, I thought, was underwhelming today, but you went up against an unstoppable force, a team that I believe has one of, if not the best defensive line in the country. This OU defense will make other teams look inept. That OU defense is the best defensive line in the country. Taology. Listen, Nathan, defensively, I think Oklahoma can win a national title. I think Oklahoma could easily be in Atlanta in 2 weeks and be playing for a college football playoff bid and a first-round bye. But you don't have an offensive spark. And at some point, you just kind of run into that wall. Like, that's where we are, unfortunately. And I'm not saying it's going to get any better anytime soon because I don't believe it. Boomer Sooner to you guys. Listen, Oklahoma, again, what a performance defensively. We constantly are saying it. And much like how I feel about Diego Pavia, I want him in the playoff because of there's something about that moxie showing on up on a game day elimination game. Like, I feel like that carries a lot of weight. I feel that way when it comes to Oklahoma's defense. Like, it would be a tragedy and a travesty to waste this type of performance week in and week out with your backs against the wall in win now mode and come up short. It would be an absolute waste to see them beat Alabama, beat Missouri, beat Tennessee, and then fumble it at the 1 yard line because LSU finally decides to have a pulse offensively running the football. Or you end up not having your fastball defensively and you have to trust your offense to win a game. It'd be a joke. It would be absolutely horrendous. But that's the reality that right now we're living in. You come away knowing that Oklahoma is built to go to the playoff and win multiple games if it comes down to only defense. If it comes down to offense, you got to ask yourself a question. What's not working to where we still are putting ourselves in this position of underwhelming results and getting by with 11 points of a differential, but really kind of relying on those explosive plays to set the tone for the rest of the afternoon? All right, we're going to end the live stream there. We'll be back after Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, following us on social media. And if you haven't already, go check out our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel.com/SECU is where you want to sign on up. It's really simple. It's easy to use. The app is free, and you can go ahead and join and get $300 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet. Let's say that tonight you want to pick Tennessee to beat Florida and end the dreaded curse that has been going on out in the swamp. Well, if you win that bet, come next week, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets, and you can do that and play any single game that you have, whether it be college basketball, college football, the NHL, the NBA. You can make player prop bets, same game parlays, whatever tickles your fancy. Now is the perfect time to sign on up at FanDuel.com/SECU. Win your first bet, get started with $300 in bonus bets simply by playing at $5 at FanDuel, the official betting partner of the NBA. Final score is 17-6. Oklahoma, defensively, you're built to win a national title. Offensively, you may be left out of the college football playoff. And as for Missouri, I wish you nothing but the best for the rest of the season. Go out on a high note and beat up on Arkansas. But there's a lot of questions that you have for the long term about your program, including who is going to be the coach in 2026. Today, it may have gotten a little bit more challenging. I'm Cole Thompson. I will see you after the Kentucky Vanderbilt game. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Peace.